Hey there, good morning. My name is Kurt. It's October 23rd, 2022. This is my good luck meditation video. I'm heating up some Starbucks from last night. I really needed the Starbucks coming home from Huntington Beach last night. I was exhausted coming home and I couldn't stay awake. But it didn't help. But what did help was I pulled over to the side of the road and had a quick sleep. Yumiko said that I just pulled over. It's just before the Ortega Pass, and I just said I gotta pull over and close my eyes for a second. Coming down the 5 towards San Juan Capistrano, and just made that left turn at on the Ortega Highway. And I just pulled into a little industrial complex there, and I'm the king of power nap. I literally pulled the chair back. Yumiko said I was snoring within 3 seconds of closing my eyes. She said I slept for 3 minutes. I woke up, said, okay, let's go. And I drove over the Ortega Pass, completely sober and awake. I mean, not that I was drinking, but you know what I mean. You're not just like completely back. And now I'm rocking 2 cups of coffee and my dogs want food. So let's do the Good Life meditation. My daily remembrance of life objectives and principles, and a recount of yesterday and a plan for the coming day. I'm doing 2 cups of coffee because today's going to be a busy day. Got a lot of packing to do. It's our last Sunday before the move on Friday. A lot of packing to do. We're going to make another trip down. Let's go. Let's go around and get the dog's bowls. First, last night and yesterday, I slept good last night. Very tired. Only woke up once in the middle of the night thinking about work. I got the election coming up. It's one of my projects. On the IT side of the November midterms. Feels like a lot of responsibility. This is my first election in that role, and being kind of organizing all of the IT related to it. It's interesting being on that side, especially in such a politicized environment. Well, I guess, I mean, everything about politics is political, right? Let's see, is this hot enough or is it going to burn the hell out of me? That's good. So there's that, and then my other project, and then the other project, and then there's the other project. So I've got kind of 4 going on right now. So yeah, I did wake up thinking about it. Otherwise, it was okay. Yesterday was a fun day. Did our house cleaning in the morning. Yumiko and I took off. We ate a lot. Yumiko and I don't eat a lot anymore. That's how we were able to lose so much weight. But we ate a lot yesterday. I think it was because we were so busy and we needed the calories. But we stopped at, went to Starbucks twice yesterday. We stopped at Starbucks and went down. Oh guys, I need to get you guys more food. Okay, more food for you today. We're going shopping today. We stopped at Starbucks on the way down, and then we each got a grilled cheese sandwich, which we like, and our coffee, and then we did our move, and then we had a so-so lunch in an Indian place by the pier. Something about the place just wasn't quite on its game, but it was okay. The food was good. Service was good. So what wasn't good? It was a little dirty. Yeah, that was it. It's interesting how everything else was good and just that one thing kind of takes you aback. And I'm particular about that, as I think most of us are. Okay, is there no other food for you guys? Because I've got plenty of food for them in terms of chicken, because we kind of mix in chicken with their dog food. Well, I guess that's it. So it's chicken heavy breakfast this morning for my boys. So we did that, then we did the move, and then we did this and that and the other thing, and then came home and we had dinner, and we had Subway for dinner. Yumiko and I split a sandwich together. I was tired. So what else is there? That's about it for yesterday. I really wasn't challenged with much of anything. It was a pretty smooth day. Let's do the good life. 7 objectives and 32 principles. Oh, I did get a nice message yesterday. I'm getting down my social media there. I'm entering the stage where this transition that we're having to this new life is going to be an opportunity for a new stage of the going alone mission. When I came to America, nice had in mind an ambition to, I literally planned to get a motorcycle. I literally explained the idea of going alone to myself in my mind. I come up with that idea in hand, I wasn't ready necessarily. I didn't know what going alone would entail. I knew about going alone, that was going to be a focus, although I didn't know what it was. I knew that I was going to get a big GS motorcycle. I didn't know what I was going to do with it besides ride it around. I didn't understand what the mission would be. That the mission would be the adventure into the deep wilderness alone, the discovery of a universe without God, and then the apprehension of that, and that's the discovery, apprehension of it, and then the resulting. I gotta shred Rudy's chicken. I forgot to do that. Otherwise, he goes and munches it over there, and then Ollie will grab his food. And then the development of the Good Life Creed, which that is all done. The adventure is done. The writing is done. The editing is done. Rudy, here you go. All of that is done. What needs to be done now is the marketing and the sharing of the story. So that's next. And I got a really great message yesterday from a woman over in, I'm kind of all over the place. So I have I think I have it all figured out. How I'm going to use social media to these ends. Whereas Facebook is going to be my primary venue because that's the place that I do the best composition of the what do you call it? And, copy, that's what they call it. The actual words that I use with the images and the videos that I create. For some reason, there's just something about the actual Facebook main venue there. You know, I do my best work writing social media. So I'll use that as the primary focus for that. And then I will, and then I expand and I share it beyond to other forms of social media through Instagram, which Instagram splits. Sends to Instagram, whatever I send to Instagram goes also to Twitter, there's another one, I can't remember what it is, and the softypapa page on Facebook. So Instagram really great. It splits into 3. You get 4, like one post on Instagram and you get 4 venues covered in one shot. So Facebook, the Instagram splits into 4, and then LinkedIn, and then if I want to, I can split to any other specialty Facebook pages. The softypapa page basically is kind of a default. So the main Facebook page and the softypapa page kind of one and the same for me, whereas the softypapa page has always been kind of more of an adventure thing. But I'm just going to use them as the same end. Softypapa is me, I am him. But then I have the Going Alone page. I have the Stoic Poetry page. I have the Freeway Bible Study page, where I do actually post content to these 3, depending on speciality. So it's where I kind of, focus the content. That's good. It's taken a long time to get all that in place and figured out and organized on my phone, so I can do it all on the phone and manage the content. Of course, YouTube as well. So that is, if I do this right, then that's one post goes to Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, that's the other one, the softypapa page, and then LinkedIn, and then whatever specialty page I want to go to. So go to 7 or 8, I don't always do the specialty page. One post will go to 7 or 8 venues. It's an amazing spread of content. It really does get it out there. Now, of course, my audience is not large as content creators go. I mean, I'm a very niche individual with what I do with living in America. I don't post about America. I post about the stuff that is related to my book, which is an esoteric, strange book. You go to the bookstore, and the philosophy section, which I liken it to be philosophy of a sort, is usually a pretty small section of the bookstore. They're not usually the bestseller section. I expect that'll change somewhat when I get back to Japan and take up the Japan content again. One, I know how to do that. 2, I know how to do it better. 3, I'll be retired and have my time will be my own and I'll be able to do it in earnest. I think, and 4, I'm armed with much better tools than I had back in from 2006 to 2014 when I was doing the band in Japan, walking in Japan, YouTube bullet train channels. And I still have all of those channels available to me except the YouTube bullet train because I forgot the damn password. Oh well. Anyway, so that's that. So how did I get started to go down all that path? I don't know. I guess the caffeine started to kick in. That was yesterday, and that was all that. So let's do the good life. 7 objectives as follows. 1, to be always ready to die, to have my life's affairs, my relationships, and my life's work in order at all times. And these things are. 2, to make good and effective use of my time, to not waste my days, but to be working at the improvement of my life, mainly through the efforts that I do now I remember why, I'll get back to it in a second, mainly through the efforts that I do through the refinement of my story and my good life creed. Let me get to the end of the 7 objectives and then I'll get back to what I was talking about. 3, the development and maintenance of good and sound life principles. That's these principles and objectives I'm relating right now, and I work hard at this every day. 4, the cultivation of good emotional reactions to develop an internal character and composition, carriage and mien. Is that the word? Mien? That word just floated in my head. Is that the carried facial nature? You know, it's like a look. Because if you can kind of fake it till you make it, right? You can kind of build it, develop a character that you then try to carry yourself in that becomes your internal engine. It begins to resemble that in a way. Yeah, maybe it's faking it a little bit, but it's also making an effort of sorts. And then next is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day. Good things to make the world a better place, to create more faces like little rubies right now, and we're kind of a peaceful content. And then to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities, so that I'm working towards things that I can actually do something about, not wasting my time, applying my time well, and my energies. And then finally, to do just one thing at a time, and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. Those are my 7 objectives. Now, back to what I was talking about. I said that before I came to Japan, I kind of had an idea of going alone, although I didn't know what that was. I had a definite idea that I was going to buy a motorcycle. In fact, that's the very first thing I did when I got here. I was going to use that in some way to facilitate the going alone. And then after was it between 2014 and the end of 2017, 14, 15, 16, so 4 years. I didn't start writing going alone until well into the first year that I was back. So it took about 3 years of adventuring and writing to produce Going Alone, and then another 4 years to edit it and complete it, and now it's done. So that's where I was headed. I've completed the adventuring, the experience, the writing, and then the editing stage. Now the book is truly done, and now I'm beginning the marketing stage. So that's why I'm focusing on that social media. That social media is the first step towards that end, to have a way that I can begin sharing bits and pieces of what constitutes the good life through my social media channels. And as I just described, I have 8 venues where I can do that. And then after that, I'm going to start working on actually physically marketing the book. Okay, buddy? Oh, he's over there making some noise. Now my 32 principles. As follows. First one is the principle of war, to always be fighting against what I think is true. 2, the principle of reason, and that's the principles of honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation, which is the way that I go about identifying if something is true, by looking at it honestly and being honest with myself about what I'm seeing, to be objective, to look at things under different lights and from different perspectives, trying to wear even the other perspectives and impressions of other people as they describe their experiences to me and their ideas. Doubt, to be a fierce skeptic, to really question, especially stuff that I believe already. I'm most skeptical of my own, of the things I believe on my own, I believe already. And then be ready to be humiliated when I discover that I'm wrong, and welcome such humiliation. What a blessing to find that I'm wrong. Next is the homunculus, the suggestion that I don't have a soul, but I do have a little consciousness that resides behind my forehead and peeks out and drives my little body here. And then the Anchorhold. The homunculus is trapped. My consciousness is trapped inside of me. It's trapped alone, and it won't escape death. It will be obliterated upon death. It's the first of several instances throughout this meditation where I'll describe my disbelief in any afterlife or soul or God or any idea that anything will continue on. I believe that death is an absolute and is irrevocable. Can't necessarily prove it, but there's no evidence, no good evidence at least, to suggest otherwise. That's why I operate in that perspective. I round up to the assumption that death is forever. Next is the Anchorhold, where our consciousness is trapped within us and won't escape. I kind of discovered that. Then purpose. I have 3 purpose in life. One is to be a good husband and father, to fulfill my mandate. The mandate that I onboarded by virtue of the fact of deciding to become a husband and then a father, and all the responsibility that comes along with that. And I gladly and gratefully fulfill all of that. And it's part and parcel of my mission as someone who wants to make the world a better place. Then comes the other purpose is to be a virtuous human being, where virtue is simply defined as doing things that help to improve the well-being of thinking creatures, creatures that can suffer. Then comes the third purpose is to share my story, the story of going alone. Okay, next comes the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, flowing and changing and forever transforming, including you and me. Rudy here and I, you too. We're just made of atoms and molecules and animated by energy. I don't think there's anything more to it than that. At least there's no good reason to think so. So when I'm dead, I'll dissolve, so to speak, back to my constituent parts. Will probably be burned up in my case. Energy will release into the atmosphere in terms of heat, noise, and light, and dissipate out into space, and whatever's left is a small bucket full of ashes that hopefully my wife will dispense with, or my daughter, or whoever remains. I don't give a damn how they dispense it. They can throw it in the trash for all I care. Doesn't matter. It's because once I'm dead, there's nothing left. There's just a stinking rotten corpse. Whatever. Do what you can to get rid of it. I kind of wish they could just drag me out to the side of the road and have the trash truck kind of scoop me up and take me away. That would be just fine. If it sounds like I'm being kind of showy in my disregard for my corpse, that's because I do have an utter disregard for my corpse. It's nothing more than it's like the broken eggs, right? Just throw them in the trash, let them go. Broken eggshells is what I meant to say. Okay, then comes the home of good and evil. Right and wrong don't exist out in the universe. There just exist the concepts that we hold in our mind. But I backed up, didn't I? I already covered that one. Yeah, I was in the atomic principle. Then the principle of nature. Everything has a particular nature, including you and me. And it's the nature of a move to wear us out a little bit. And it's the nature of coffee early in the morning to stimulate and get us going again. It's a balance. And then the pilot ride. I don't think we have free will. I think that we're driven by the universe in a mindless manner, driven by all the circumstances that happened before we were born, driven through our life by everything that influences us and all the mandate of our biology and chemistry, and driven into death by whatever kills us. We have this idea that we are somehow in control, which is a curious thing. I think it's important because it causes us to take it seriously. If we really did think that we were like automatons, I wonder how our lives might be different. We might not be so engaged with things, and we might not survive. It's kind of like a mission-critical mandate to suspect that we have self-control, we have self-will and control. I don't think we do. I can't prove that. I know that I recognize that as a sin, so to speak, like sin against reason, but I can't help it. I simply believe that. Sometimes you can't help what you believe. You just kind of become convinced, and I'm convinced that free will is an illusion. And I would love to be talked out of it. Okay, then comes maturity, and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude and integrity. We are mature when we wisely remember our past successes and failures and have the fortitude to do better in the future, which results in a life of integrity, where our end results are a match for a close match for our values, what's important to us. And then the social principle, we're social creatures, we need each other. The sub-principles there are justice, diplomacy, and conspiracy. Justice is what we seek after by virtue of the diplomacy we make to work together to come up with agreements about what constitutes the good city. And then we link arms and work towards that together, forming political parties, alliances of sorts, and in coming together to form power units that then enact laws. And then we seek after justice to enforce that better state. The next one is public speaking, the desire to speak well and clearly, and also to write well and clearly. The sub-principles for this one are best words, prudence, eloquence, rumor, and gossip. Best words are what we do when we cultivate a rich and deep vocabulary and then work hard to be able to use the right words in the right moment. Neither showy nor ostentatious, to use a big word, maybe I even used it incorrectly. And to not use words as filler, as I just did. So there's a good example of me not following my principle. I shouldn't use word ostentatious if I don't think I know that it's the right word for the time, and it may not be in this case. If we can do that, we can and apply prudence, which is our ability to push our meaning through a filter of our values in the moment while we're speaking. We wind up being eloquent, where we speak well. We use the right words, the best words, and what we say is in alignment with well fought after, fighting usually against ourselves, hard-won values. That results in eloquence. The things we don't want to do, we don't want to, with regard to speaking and communication, we don't want to trade and gossip, and we don't want to be passing rumors. Those things are nasty. Next comes distraction, and then agency and the great indifference. Two principles that go together. We distract ourselves through our life by all the things that we do. We have the job we have, the families we create, the hobbies that we engage in, the churches that we join, the social clubs, the politics that we support. These are all great distractions, so we don't have to see the emptiness of the universe, the apparent indifference of nature to our well-being. It's kind of the point of the thing that we're
point of going alone into a wilderness setting all alone, like a moonscape, like the Bristol Mountains in the Mojave Desert, north of Siberia. To go there alone, over that last ridge, beyond the last bar, to go there alone, you might have a good chance of apprehending the nothing, realizing that we are alone. And then what? That's the question. What we do with that awful truth, the scary truth, liberating truth in a way, could be the key element in deciding how we're going to best spend our time. For me, it motivated me to be deliberate in my time and to not waste my days or my life, to develop a creed that I could abide and follow and share, and to live a better life, a good life, by virtue of going alone. Next comes 5 principles that work together. These are the temperance, and then life will not go well, the horror show, that which must be born. That's the name of a principle, born with an E, carried. And then finally, the Feast of Woeful. Temperance is a skill. It's an ability to control our consumption, to not have a venti-sized Starbucks. I usually don't get this big one. It's a mocha, no less. But I was really tired, like I said, so I wanted both sugar and caffeine and a lot of it. I usually don't do that. This is an example of intemperance in my part. I'm usually pretty temperate, but if we do that by virtue of our practice, our daily practice in life, then we get good at denying ourselves the excess, and we get good at staying trim and lean in all things in life. Then, when life doesn't go well, when the speed bumps are hit, we are better in control and stable, expecting less and being less impacted by when we get less of life, or when life gives us too much. We can be temperate in our expectation and our reaction. Now, the horror show simply describes what happens when you take life not going well to the extreme levels that lead to tragedy, great tragedy, disability, and death. I really haven't been trying too much on that capacity, but I'm trying to exercise myself and get myself into a state where I can deal with that well. We'll see. It's coming. It might already be happening for anybody that's watching this. It's certainly coming for all of us, the horror show, ultimately with death at least, although probably throughout life peppered with horrifying things. What do we have to bear through life? What do we have to carry? We have to carry the fact that life will not go well. We have to carry the fact of the horror show for ourselves and others. These are our burdens. And I remind myself that every day by thinking about that one principle, the horror show. And then lastly is the Feast of Woeful, the ability to control our expression of upset, discomfort, confusion, whatever the case may be, not blowing up in front of those that we love in particular, or anybody for that matter, but holding it in, finding other ways to deal with our upset, not spoiling the party or soiling the fun, or hurting others by virtue of our intemperate release. I covered 5 in one shot there. Moving on, we already did distraction. Next comes the best seat in the house. To not want to be anyone else, or be anywhere else, or be doing anything else, but to be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing today, now, as I am. Then comes another 3 principles. These 3 they go together. The restless man, move that up here. The path of wildness. I wonder what it'd be like if I pull this off and hold it. The restless man, the path of wildness, and the great life adventure. there's a kind of a restlessness that so many of us kind of experience in our life. It's a sense of longing for something. Typically, we call it adventure. I bring this up because if we do something about it, we get a benefit that follows us all of our lives, especially if we do it young. And if we don't do it, we pay a price all of our lives, especially when we're old. So I recommend doing it when you're young. Give yourself a chance to go out into the world and find yourself. I'll come back to that more in just a second with another principle coming up. Stepping out from the current path that we're on into a new way is what I call the path of wildness. It's a way through and away from the safe and sane into something new, a new juncture in life, a new story, a new chapter, so to speak. I'm on that path right now. Less than a week now, and we'll be out of this beautiful house and into a small, cramped, old place by the beach. That's the path of wildness, the making of the journey from one life to another. This leads to the last principle that is part of those three, which is the great life adventure. The great life adventure is the new story that we create by virtue of stepping upon the path of wildness and giving ourselves a new life. It's a good thing to do, especially if you're a restless man or a restless woman from a young age. Okay, now, I feel like I'm a little mixed up I'm getting the principles. I think I'm not missing any, and I'm mixing them up a little bit. I think the next one now is the risk of avoiding risk. This is the principle I said I would talk about in just a second, and here that second has come. The risk of avoiding risk is the fact that there's the surface level risks in life, and then what I call the deep risk. The surface level stuff, there's 5 of them. That's the risk of education, career, finding a partner to spend your life with, creating a home and family, and preparing for your old age. We have institutions and families and schools and churches and corporations and 401ks and pensions that work to supply and fulfill all of those things. Oh, and I forgot about realtors as well. All of these institutions are in place to help us, and there are paths and laws and regulations and the whole apparatus. That's why I call it the surface level risk, because it's easier to assuage because by virtue of the fact that our societies are set up to do that. But watch out, because they also tend to saddle us with all of this, right? With a big house and a mortgage and a family and 2 cars and the expectations of things, and maybe an RV in the driveway, and a lot of it is the things that we saddle ourselves with, and the routines and the familiarity and the family that's all around us, and then in the community, etc., etc. It just goes on and on. This then brings me to the deep level risk, which is the risk of not attending to that restless voice that we hear within us that's saying, hey, what more is there? Could I possibly go out into the world and find myself, as the hippies used to say? There is something to finding oneself and making that effort. And if we don't do that, it won't leave us alone, most likely. Although you might be able to drown it out in the evening with 2 or 3 beers, or maybe you'll listen to the oldies on the radio station, or do whatever you can to kind of push yourself away. I mean, some people lead to horribly destructive things, like finding a man or a woman outside of marriage to spend time with, and to kind of give that little bit of a thrill, like a reminder of the youth. And these are horribly destructive things that tear families apart. So as does alcohol, as does drug abuse, as does becoming a workaholic, whatever the case may be. And I would like to suggest that there's another way to handle that, and that is to give ourselves that opportunity to go upon the path of wildness if you're a restless man or a restless woman at a young age, particularly at the sweet spot age of about 25 to 30. That's the sweet spot after university, before you settle down with a career and a spouse and a home and a family and a mortgage and expectations and taxes and voting and planning for old age and taking care of parents and et cetera, all that stuff. Give yourself 5 years of freedom to go off into the world and have a great life adventure. Come back with a story, some scars, some experiences that will be your story for the rest of your life. The tricky, you can do it later. You can do it right up into the 50s, little bits and pieces, but it has diminishing returns. Although it's kind of a strange thing as well. You know, if you do it into your 50s, you might have diminishing returns, but you also might have some wonderful additions by virtue of your greater maturity. But most likely, if you didn't do it at a young age, your maturity is more fraught with fear and trepidation and timidity than courage and resolve and experience. It's better to go into the 5th decade of life well armed with the experiences of the past and the wisdom that comes of having some great life adventures, including one great one, one big one. That's really it's the centerpiece one that you can build upon. So watch out if you don't do it. After 50, if you never did it at all, I don't know what I can tell you. I haven't been there yet, and I have definitely worked hard to deal with this in my own life. I didn't do it as well as some, but I did it to at least to a degree that the demon, I almost called it a demon. It feels like a demon, right? If you don't do it, that little voice inside you that draws you onto adventure to get that thing to shut up. I don't know. I have a feeling that you after the 5th decade is done. Not much you can do after that. You know, motorhome trips and you know, timeshares and golf courses and cruises, and as nice as all that is. And for some of us, that's plenty. That's plenty nice. And I don't mean to disparage those things necessarily, but for those of us that are drawn in that other direction, that ain't enough. And I know that wouldn't do the trick for the people of my tribe. I think that's the thing. All right, moving on to sin and damnation. There are 7 sins in my worldview, and these are falsity, being untrue; credulity, believing things too readily or easily; faith, believing things in where we found our belief upon the wish to believe; and then superstition, believing things that are categorically identified as nonsense; dogma, believing things because of a long tradition or canonical text that we find impressive; authority, believing things because a person or their office or their outfit or their eloquence convinces us and impresses us and somehow convinces us that they must be right. And then the 2 other ones, sins that are not related to belief, are trading in rumors and spreading gossip. No, spreading rumors and trading in gossip. There you go. Engaging in any of those, and we are damned in the here and now. Next is complete oblivion. When we're dead, that's the end of us. We're not going to be around anymore at all, other than our corpse, which will be gone in lightning fast, even if we choose to pump it full of chemicals and make ourselves into a meat popsicle before popping it into the ground. That ain't going to last as well. You know, you can, meat popsicles dissolve away too. And they tend to dissolve away in pretty gross manner. We can be lucky that we can't see what's going on in the casket under the ground as those things, you know. Yeah, I'll leave it at that, right? Much rather just be burned up, or even better still, just put me in the compost pile and cover me with some leaves, and I'll be gone in a month or 2. That's the best way. Meat popsicle. Okay, complete oblivion, the bullseye aim, shooting for the mark but usually missing; the uphill climb, up climbing every day. Today higher than I was yesterday, not higher as in, but higher in terms of greater elevation, a higher climb upon this steep mountain of life. Arena and utility. Life is an arena for the development of good objectives and principles that we can then use on a daily basis to live better. Nothing is enough. Beyond temperance. Let's just leave it at that for now. And then the last one is the principle of fun. A reminder to have a good time in the here and now. a reminder to have a good time thinking about what's to come, and to remembering yesterday, but not necessarily to living too much in either any of those, but to do our best with now. Yeah, I got through it. I thought I was going to have a tough one this morning. Good thing for the caffeine. Now let's plan for the day. I'll finish this. I will go upstairs and read my Bible. I'm in Hosea 6 today. Then I'm going to walk the dogs. I've already fed them. Walk the dogs. Then I'll come back and I'll take apart some stuff and begin packing up the car for another trip to Irvine with my wife. We'll have a nice day together. It'll be a good day. I'll be ready to take on whatever opportunities and challenges I encounter. And I'll be ready for the fatigue that might come. I'll use caffeine, sugar, and micro naps to get me along. Thanks for joining me. Be safe, but not too safe.